Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Cosmic Leadership Season 3. I received so much love from you this week. My name is Adelina East. I am a therapist, a transformational healer, a modality of healing that I created using neuroscience and spirituality. And I'm so happy to be with you all again this week. If you are new to this podcast, we held a mini transformational healing session on this podcast last week on rejection. And so if you haven't checked that out yet, you may want to check it out. We received lots of DMs and emails from all of you about that episode. And I'm just so very grateful to have this incredible community. Like, how did I get so lucky to know all of these people? I feel so grateful for all of you. And please keep your comments coming, keep your recommendations coming. We love hearing all of them. We go through and read every single one. I just wanted to share with you one letter that I received from someone who listens to the podcast last week because I thought it was particularly beautiful and holds a lot of healing for all of us. Dear Adelina, thank you so much for last week's episode on rejection. I am a person who was adopted even before I was conscious. And despite the fact that I was raised by beautiful parents, I've felt this feeling of rejection my entire life. Through that episode, and the mini transformational healing that you offered us, I felt such release and healing about all of those things. I'm so very grateful that you are able to share this healing with us. I booked my first private session for next week, and I look forward to seeing you then. Love, Jennifer. So Jennifer let me know that it was okay with her that I read all of that to you. But that was an angle of rejection that I actually hadn't been thinking about when I created last week's episode. I was thinking more in terms of romantic love rejection, rejection from friends, maybe even rejection from parents. But my mind didn't automatically go to adoption. And so I thought that was really beautiful and really special. And thank you so much, Jennifer, for reminding me that it can also be about adoption. Rejection can actually be about anything, right? It's something that we feel, and it is also something that we can recover from. So if you haven't checked out last week's mini transformational healing, please do so when you're done listening to this week. I am so excited to share with you our guest for this week. Her name is Nadine Artemis. And we actually scheduled her to be live with us a couple of weeks ago, but I have been having, moving issues. I moved into this new house and I'm doing a lot of things on it. So this is a beautiful episode with her. She shares with us how she started her incredible company, Living Libations. I became very much in love with Living Libations products when I started having gum problems. So Living Libations makes beauty products, personal care products, and it's all very holistic. She uses a lot of herbs, which we all know I love in her products. I was very resistant to check them out for so long because I know that they use essential oils. And so for you sensitives out there, if I have any fellow multiple chemical sensitivity folks listening, I am also extremely sensitive to essential oils. If I walk into a room and someone's using an oil diffuser, I just walk right back out. Like I can't take it. But the way that Nadine and her team process those essential oils actually has taken away a lot of the sensitivity for me. I can't speak for everyone with MCS, but if you have MCS, it may be worth a try. Buy something inexpensive and see how you do with it. So one of the things that I am in love with from her collection is this gum oil. I had all kinds of gum problems. I started using her ozonated gum oil and it really helped me so much. I feel like since I moved here to New Mexico, all of these new things about my own physical healing have been coming to light. And so one of those things was that a lot of my physical problems kind of originated in my mouth and I wasn't realizing it, even though I'd been to 93 dentists. It sometimes takes just the right person to find a thing. So if you hate going to the dentist and you can't stand it, you can give the ozonated gum oil a try and see what that helps you with. Of course, we should all be going to the dentist. I'm not in any way recommending you don't, but it's worth a try. So, without any further ado, let's chat with Nadine Artemis, one of the world's most foremost herbalists, and she probably is one of the few people in the world who have as much of a nose sensitivity as I do. Let's have this beautiful chat with Nadine. Welcome back to Cosmic Leadership Podcast. I am so excited for our guest today because I use so many of her products, and I just think she's one of the great geniuses of the holistic health movement. I'm so happy to introduce Nadine Artemis to you. She is the founder of Living Libations. She's also the author of Holistic Dental Care, The Complete Guide to Healthy Teeth and Gums, and Renegade Beauty, Reveal and Revive Your Natural Radiance, which was named one of the top 10 books on skincare by The Strategist of New York Magazine. She's a respected media guest and contributor, and her products have received rave reviews in the New York Times, LA Times, Elle, People, Vogue, and Hollywood Reporter. I am so incredibly excited to introduce to you Nadine. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, thanks for having me on your show.
Yay. So I know that we can read on your website a little bit of the origin story, but I wanted to hear from you a little bit about how you had these incredibly innovative ideas and made them into a company. We work with a lot of people here who are in the midst of that. So you're a very inspiring person to hear from.
Yeah, well, I didn't know, you never know really what you're doing till a little bit after.
That's true. Yeah.
But I did start to formulate in my teens. I mean, I was just playing around at first, but then by 18, 19, as I was in university, I was, taking these raw materials and making all kinds of skincare products. Again, nothing like crazy inventive, just like my own version and a natural and a real version of like lip balm, perfumes, and all that kind of stuff. Then I think once I started rocking and rolling with that, and I opened my store as soon as I graduated from university in 1992. And, other than what I think are like just beautiful body care products, I think then things got a little more innovative in a way, because then I started making things that were just different, you know what I mean? Like dental serums, which hadn't really existed before, or our poetic pits, which are really just combinations of essential oils, but with sandalwood as like the carrier, which would be insane for most people because it's too exquisite and expensive to be the heart of a product, so to speak, rather than the accent of a product. And then, making things with like ozonating, which Nikola Tesla invented, which was passing ozone through olive oil and making these ozonated infused oils. And
which
so
I love, by the way. Those are my favorite. Yes.
I love them too. So we have beauty balms and an oral gel and a lip gloss, all based on Tesla's innovation with ozone and olive oil that we've, brought up to the modern times with so the lip gloss, we've got our beautiful red root that we put in there. And so we've taken that Tesla technology and brought it up to this century, or even also brought in some things from history, so to speak, like combining frankincense and that kind of stuff. Through that, I think we've, created some very innovative products, and maybe not even necessarily a product, so to speak, but a way into the body or a new way to care for the body. I think that has been a good thing that we've sort of contributed to as well.
I agree. How did you come up with your very first formulation? Do you remember?
Well, the very first one, which isn't necessarily like a real product, but in grade 9, we got to do a science fair project, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And it was like one of those rare moments where you could pick your own subject. It was so exciting.
Wow.
And I did find a book at the library that was, geared towards a younger audience. I was in grade 9, and it was just about cosmetics and making them. Was a whole chapter on perfumery. And I didn't know, I had all these bottles, and of course they're all synthetic things, but I didn't even know really, where originally a perfume came from. Of course, it came from the plants. And it talked about we know this now, but the distillation of, in ancient Egypt and those sorts of things. And anyway, it said that, what was distilled would be, you could find in, a health food store, and it's something called an essential oil.
Yeah.
So that was my first, what an essential oil is. And we went to the health food store in the big city, and that's where I got my first whiffs of things. But anyway, I recreated one of my favorite perfumes at the time, which was L'air de Temps by Nina Ricci for the project. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah.
And you used all essential oils to make it?
Yeah.
Wow. That is so cool.
Yeah. It was really neat. I mean, I wish I had a bottle of it now just to smell what I thought. But it did, it was exquisite, and I did well. It was one of those projects I did well on. But that was just really fun. And then, we were in Europe one summer, and I got to go, there's a perfume museum in France. And, I would even mix the perfumes, or like I'd take my lip balm and melt it with like an eyeshadow. And, so I was doing that kind of stuff, but it really wasn't until I was at university, and I'd started making my own food and like really understanding what we were eating. And then I was really understanding, like reading labels and like soup and like, oh, like secondary ingredients, and like that's like, or like brown sugar is just white sugar with molasses. Like I studied sort of a lot about the food industry, I guess you call it. And then it was just like, oh, let me go read the labels of my bath products, which were like Body Shop at the time, thinking that was natural. Yeah. But again, it was at that moment, it seemed different, like it was natural. And then I'm like, oh my God, the fuzzy peach bath oil has never been impeached. The dewberry's not even a plant.
I know. That was my favorite scent, actually.
Yeah, me too.
Was my scent.
Oh yeah.
I thought that Bath and Body Works was so natural. And then of course I got older and started researching, and it's just so full of chemicals and terrifying.
So full. But it was that moment, because I liked making my own food, but I obviously had been just wanting to mix stuff since I was a kid. So then it was a good moment, because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to make my own stuff. Like it was great.
That's awesome. What would you say is the thing that you've made that you use the most? I mean, you probably use all of your products, but most used.
Well, I've got my, like the best skin ever. I mean, I've always, we need that bottle of oil. So that, and that'll vary over the years. Right now I'm using the Immortelle one. And then I gotta have a Poetic Pit. And I used to make the neroli one for myself. It's a little more exquisite because it's neroli and like Hawaiian sandalwood. But I was like, well, I'm sure somebody will want it. Even though it's super fine. But so that is my Poetic Pit. And then.
And by the way, everyone, a Poetic Pit, in case it's not.
Oh, yeah, it's a deodorant. Sorry. Yes. We also have Underarm Charms, which are cream deodorants, but I love the Poetic Pit. And then, I think I need those, and like a tooth product, like I love our gum drops, which was our first dental serum. And then I love our new toothpaste that we have a few toothpaste, and I love them all. But last year we made the triple mint, which is new, and it has the nanohydroxyapatite, which is a mineral that basically your whole teeth is made out of. And it's so good at whitening, brightening, fissures in the teeth, like smoothing out the surface.
Okay. I was not aware of that one, but I will certainly check it out.
Yeah, it's fun.
The thing that I use the most is the gum oil.
Yes.
I had periodontal issues big time, and I know about herbs. I'm an herbalist also. Right. I'm also a therapist and a channel, but some of my background is in herbology, and I love all of the herbs that you put in there because
thank you.
And particularly the clove gets rid of the bacteria, parasitic things on the teeth.
And now that we're understanding more about the microbiome, we understand that these ancient ingredients that have been used for oral care, like clove, cinnamon, tea tree, mastic, frankincense, now we know that, like under the microscope, that one cool thing why they're good for the teeth is because they are something known as quorum sensing inhibitors, QSI for short, which means they're able to keep the pathogens in check. They're able to inhibit the quorum sensing of pathogens, and the quorum sensing really just means like their communication, their gene expression, and their ability, because they're kind of like lone rangers. The pathogens, sorry, I was like parasites. The pathogen is like a lone ranger floating around the body, and then they quorum sense to find each other, group up, create biofilms. So that those like clove in them, they bust up that communication.
Bust biofilm. Yeah. And for those listeners who are not into all of this stuff yet, you will be, but biofilm forms around a pathogen, like a bacteria, a parasite, a worm, anything. And it forces things to not, the medication or whatever you're taking, to not be able to bust through the biofilm to kill the thing.
Yeah, because it kind of helps them hide.
Yeah, it helps them
Yeah.
hide. But now that we have your products, we can use a natural way of busting biofilm. So we're not taking 30,000 pills a day, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're able to clean up the pathogens, but work with cooperatively with the friendly bacteria, which is literally what we need right now on a lot of levels, where we can clear up pathogens, but not destroy the microbiome.
Right. Especially after the last couple of years that we've had, and everyone's all...
Exactly. We all need our microbiomes intact.
We do. So let's switch over to business a little bit. Will you share with us sort of how you got started with business? Did you go the route of raising funds? Did you start just doing it on your own and it built slowly? How did you go?
Well, I was doing it while I was at university. Like, I mean, we're talking like the real start. The little Artemis essentials and like making things. I was making just for like friends and family. Okay. But it was like, I mean, obviously your friends and family have got a good audience, but really like really, oh my God, it's working and stuff, which I felt like was easy because I'm literally working with things that'll work with the body instead of just these like dewberries.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, it should work. We've got some real ingredients now. And then, so while I'm going through university, I'm also realizing like, oh, I'm going to like actually, and I started to import the oils and stuff because there was ingredients that I would read about that I just needed. I'm like, but what does that smell about? Like what, like, why did they want to use that in ancient Egypt? I need to smell that, you know, and then I was getting in like samples from distillers and farmers that were so exquisite. And it was like blowing my mind as like from what I was buying at the health food store, you know, like the brands then like Frontier or Acacia. I was just like, oh my God, like, so I would get in like even things just like a bergamot or tea tree, and they would just be 1,000 times more exquisite. And then sort of really learning the nuances of the distillation and blah, blah. So I was already importing. And then, I just had the vision of like, I was going to open a store because I didn't see that there was that. And so I did I had a bit of money from working and selling my stuff, not much, but then the government would match that. Okay. If we're getting into details, I think I'd saved 7,000. Okay. And then I got my mom to lend me 7,000, and I was like a lawyer, interest rates, like I was like prime plus like 2% because she had to make it real, which I respect. Yeah. And I remember paying that off for a few years. Anyway, so with that 15, then I went to the bank and I had to do like whole business plan and everything. And then they, with a student business thing or whatever, they matched it with 15. Great. Yeah. So I had my little 30K, which seems so tiny now with inflation, right? Yeah. But yeah, and that was in 1992. And that's how I started it. Okay. So for the business owners and people interested in doing something similar, it is important to get inventive. Ask around, you know, see if parents can lend or friends can lend so that you can find some kind of matching. Yeah, well, and what resources are available, right? Like, so like I got that government grant. That was great. Sure felt like hell paying that back. It's so funny, like the $7,000 loan, you know, and just like, because you're not making a lot in that first year. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, you're really, I mean, I took, you know, several years before you're really cutting yourself a proper paycheck. Right. Which is kind of classic. I mean, not for every business, but I mean, it really was. Yeah, this was a real startup. Yeah. And then really, and ever since then, since 1992, we just, you know, what we generate, we just pour back in. So we've always just been self-made that way. That's incredible.
Are you at a crossroads? Have you been doing the same job or maybe many different jobs for quite some time and feeling like they didn't fit? I completely relate to this. I also went through this and came out on the other side. What I love most about my life right now is that I get to work with you, seekers, those with intuitive gifts, and people who are ready for a change, people who are ready for something new. I love working with people to help them discover their unique intuitive gifts. Healers, channels, Akashic records readers, animal communicators. I love all of it. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one for a period of months to discover your unique gifts and maybe even forge a new career path, apply for the Multidimensional Mentorship Program. We'll include the link below. I look forward to talking to you soon.
Do you remember what it was like to hire your first employee?
Yeah. Well, I don't maybe remember that moment, but just like having employees was definitely like, oh, it's like a whole new thing, right? Caring and all that goes with it. Yeah. We had 4 in the store, I think 4 or 5. So that was really neat and just beautiful to start, just building teams and sharing and now, now it's grown, but I did. Yeah. So we had this story. Yeah. But there's so much to learn in that early, just so much learning every second, just,
yeah,
it was great.
Absolutely.
But also it's good that you don't know the full layout, because it's like, it's just good that you're fresh and innocent and you don't know what's ahead.
I agree, because I think if we knew how difficult
You'd be exhausted.
it was going to be, we would just be like, oh, I'll just get a regular job. It's fine. I'll do this in my free time. But it's so, I mean, what you create is so important, because there are people like me with environmental sensitivities who legitimately cannot use anything else. If it's not part of Living Libations, I probably can't use it.
I hear you. So, it's like, I don't think I don't have environmental, but I am like, but I would, you know what I mean? Like if I went down another path, and I am so sensitive. And I feel like once I kind of like was able to discern ingredients, right? I mean, like in our youth, we didn't, it's like we just know so much more now. It's very interesting. I'm sorry, I forgot where I was going with all that, but
ingredients, purity of ingredients.
Yeah. So purity ingredients. So I just feel though, like once I kind of just got the lay of the land, I mean, my body just guides me, because I'm also feel like I'm a bit like the princess and the pea. Like I just sense when things are off, and I'm just all about just having that beautiful path, where things aren't. Yeah, I just felt like I was very sensitive my whole life. And I just realized to really, like, I'll have to be the one that creates the little universe where I can live with my little sensitive being.
I feel exactly the same way. And I think it's interesting how after the last couple of years, more and more people are coming into their sensitivity and realizing that many of us are these little sensitive beings, and we have to kind of create whatever the thing is that's helping us the most, so that we can share it with other little sensitive beings too.
Create our little realms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were creating your first, let's say, set of products.
Yes.
Did you feel like a spiritual connection to the plants? Like, do they communicate with you? How do you know what's going to go with what?
Yeah, that's like, it's strange. It's such a fast process that I don't almost know what's happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And at the same time, I might have been like sort of weaving something in my head for a few years.
Okay.
And then the moment comes, or maybe it's like a concept, and then the moment comes to create it. And then the ingredients just come to my mind, but in a way, I believe, I think was synesthesia. So it's like combining of the senses. So visually inside whatever the visual screen of my head, I guess I'm the only one that's seeing, there's a lot going on. And so in the creating of the formulas and stuff, it's almost like colors come together, and plants are colors. And there's almost like a thing of combining the colors, which then makes sense for me in a formulation. And it feels intuitive, and I feel like, the plants, I kind of know the choir of ones that I'm working with, and then they just kind of come in. So do the plants speak to me in a way, but it's not like I'm walking by the dandelion and they're saying, pick me. It's a different conversation that I think, I don't know how it comes in, like with all of us, we all have our moments. And so you just have to know how to hear it or see it, or, like in the screen of your brain, or smell it. I can smell in my brain on one level too, because it's just sort of putting a palette together.
Okay.
So that's how they kind of come together.
I mean, that's very cool. So you can smell what it's going to smell like as a finished product. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously some of that comes with the knowledge of formulating for 30 years, but but there's just also like I could literally just get the measurements of the formula too. And then generally I'll make it, and it's like really good to go.
That's awesome. Okay.
There could be some tweaking, but often it's just like, boom.
Yeah.
which is fun because I feel like that's whatever your gifts are. I mean, there's going to be a zone for you and that thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's like, that creates a focus that you're not thinking about, and of course, everything like those moments don't feel like work. Of course, being in a business, there's many parts that like, you might go into being a business because you're like, oh, for all these other reasons, but then the other stuff that you're not strong at or whatever are going to come into play too.
Right.
So it's like, I think as an entrepreneur, finding those moments or like knowing when it's time to like delegate or like, oh, that's time for somebody else now, and I think it's a constant. I mean, I feel like it's so rewarding because I feel like I can go in so many directions and not so many directions, but I feel like within this one realm of our company, so many aspects of myself can develop or create, which is really fun.
Yes. And I think that's part of the important thing of starting a company, right? You're going to be spending more time working than most people in the beginning. Yeah. And so it has to be your zone of genius. It has to be your thing that you're just that passionate about that it's okay.
Yeah.
If you work that many hours.
Yeah. Because you have to just not feel that many hours.
Right. Because it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, and then there's times that aren't fun and that's okay too.
And that's
normal. And just know what to do with it. Yeah.
What are the practices and things that you rely on when things get not fun?
Well,
like
I love
launch or something.
Yeah. Well, those, but there's lots of not fun, but that wouldn't be it. But I just feel like, what are my general coping skills? I generally like I love my whole environment to be a foundation of functionality and goodness. So like, I'm going to create systems around me that will support me. But other than that, I'm looking, for sunshine, really engaging with the elements, fresh air, sunshine, getting out there, swimming or walking, that kind of thing. So that's where I feel like nature brings me back every time.
Well, it's also part of your gift, right? Yeah. You're out with the plants, getting to be around them.
Yeah. So then I've surrounded myself with that. So it's easy too. So it's easy to, walk outside and then just be there.
Do you live out in nature?
Yeah. So luckily, about 16 years ago. And that was, that took about 10 years to, plan and get out of a city. But that was great. And so 16 years we've been here.
Okay.
And it's just beautiful. We're in just 200 acres of woods and springs and natural lake. And it's good.
Wow. So you get to hike a lot.
Yeah. Well, It's really, I call it walk. It's more like just walking in the woods because we got paths.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. That's so fun.
Yeah. We got through a 15-minute walk through the woods is our headquarters where we make everything. So it's like made a little like village here in the woods.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so great. And when you are sourcing your ingredients, they're from various countries too, right?
Yeah, we really need like the whole planet, all the world. Beautiful, the whole world. And, a lot of these distillers I've had for many decades, because when you find that gem, and some of them are like 4th generation families as well. And it's just such a beautiful bevy of all the gifts from the earth, whether it's like ylang from Madagascar or lime from Guatemala. Yeah, it's just so, I just love that we can bring them all together and play with them.
Yeah. Do you have other people on your team that you mentor to try to learn how to do this?
Yeah, a little bit. Like there's I've got 2 people now, but that, and that's like 10 years. And there's another person will be like ready in about, like she's ready now, but it'll be about 10 years to bring her into the full fold.
Wow. That's so great.
And it's neat because it's just, it's a lot of it's just sort of intuition as well. Because I don't, where it's like just working together and then through osmosis.
What do you find is the most, the greatest challenge that you have when you're mentoring somebody, and how do you work through it?
I'm not, maybe not the best question for me because when I'm mentoring, I don't even really feel like I'm mentoring.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't, we just keep flowing in what we're doing.
Well, that's great. That works well. I think that also shows your skill in like finding and sourcing people who also have that intuitive gift that they can kind of put
I think where we can just have a
together.
silent mentoring,
Yeah.
that kind of, and so that's got to be the right mentee or whatever the word is, right? But I don't even think of it as a mentor relationship. It's just, I don't know, the evolution of our work together. And they're bringing stuff to the table too, which is so beautiful, right?
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. If you had to tell a person who was, your age in 1992 who wants to start their own business, if you had to tell them something you really, really wish that you knew back then, and it could be let's actually ask the question on the holistic natural side, but also on the business side, what would you tell them?
Oh, like something that people could know for their bodies or something, you mean?
Yeah.
Or, well, I think, I would say to myself, it's okay to be in the sun. Keep going.
Yeah.
We'll write a book on it later. And then I think with entrepreneur, it's like to start, know who you are, know your own inner GPS, get in tune with that so that you are your North Star and you trust whatever you're saying to yourself, so to speak, right? So you're like really getting your own communication with yourself. And then once you know, I don't mean know what you're doing, but any moment you're deciding something, just go with that and don't spend information and time conflicting yourself.
Yeah.
So if you've set that desire, that goal for lack of a better word, then don't warble in the oh, should or whatever, because that sideways discussion energy is literally just creating a schism in yourself that's not going to propel you forward in any way.
And it's eating your own energy too.
Yeah. Now, I'm certainly not saying go ahead against your own intuition into something, but once you're there and you've launched that rocket, you've launched that then go for that. Don't warble, because that inner dialogue of warble will warble you.
Agreed.
Don't pick fights with yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And why fight with yourself? You already know what you want to do.
Don't fight with yourself, because that dialogue will literally subtract from that momentum you had going forward. It's almost like when you tell somebody, if you were to tell, I don't know, an aunt or an uncle, I'm going to open a store, and then if they would get sort of, oh, I don't know if that's possible or whatever, that kind of dialogue, we literally do that to ourselves. And so just don't. Right. And so know if you are doing that, and then end it now.
Good. Yeah. Good advice. And then so what are some of your practices to end that dialogue? Because we all have that from time to time.
True. Know? Yeah.
What do you do now at this point in your career to end that?
Well, sometimes you can just be there's a lot of people, right? I don't know, feel it, go through things, and that's all great. But sometimes you can also just be no, I'm not having that thought. Kind of karate, kick it out of your brain. That's one thing. The other thing is just to find the next better thought. So also, you don't have to go into full affirmation zone, which sometimes can just sort of put a cherry on top of a foundation that's not so great anyway, or because you get to a better feeling. So you have to go way out there. Just where you're at, just find the next thought that's a little bit better than the last one and build up from there, which can be even if you're a line up in the post office and you're just annoyed and boring, look out the window, see the grass and go, oh, I like the grass, or the sun is shining today. Find your way, because your thoughts is where everything's happening and starting, and your store is starting from your thoughts. Your life is, our thoughts, I just feel they're thoughts all day. And that's something we just we need to know that dialogue. We need to be aware of that conversation. So we're not just kind of talking shit to ourselves all day and not being aware of it, right. And then kind of go to bed at the end of the day, not sure why you don't feel so good.
Right.
And I just feel we're thinking all day long. We can do a lot of things externally and we can focus a lot, but if we don't have a healthy relationship with our inner dialogue, it's life's going to be a little bit harder. Especially right now.
Absolutely. Are you a fan of the law of attraction? Because you're kind of alluding to that a little bit.
Yeah, I think there is some things there. I feel as a or a thing that can sound a bit like it's a vast concept, but and that could have different meanings for people. But I think if we just, for lack of a better word, if we think just positive things, or like positivity attracts more positivity. If you're feeling good, bask in that and it will multiply and expand. I mean, it's just, sure, it could be law of attraction. It's just literally, I think, like common sense of the universe.
I agree. It's also a neuroscientifically proven pathway. I'm a neuroscientist.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. And so
That's
if you
so
are
cool.
just constantly kind of cycling those positive thoughts, like I can make this business go, I know what to do next. If you start cycling those, your neural pathways get built up in that particular way. And it really just helps you do it better, you know?
Yeah. And you can, again, take off small parts. Maybe you don't want to do 10 steps down the road, but the next step, the next thought, the next thing, keep taking stock. I'm also very much into like, because again, every move of the business, I mean, we generated our own income to go to the next levels or whatever, you know what I mean? We never got outside help. And it just keeps you like, what you're capable of in each minute, you know what I mean? And then it's not like a big, like, oh my God, where am I? Because you've leapt forward. You just keep moving with it, each thought, each movement, and then you're there and you've been with it. And that just feels like really grounded in too.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. Thank you so much. And as one of the most incredible cosmic leaders, will you talk to us a little bit about building partnerships? What advice would you give? Like personal partnerships, like with your love partner, but also business partnerships?
Well, I think if we just think to relation, like we are in relation to all creation at every moment, every single thing is a relationship. Yeah. Whether it's to the morning, to the sun rising, to your husband, your child, your dog, whatever, your business partner. It's kind of like relationship 101, but like you don't change other people, or don't like, oh, I'll feel better when this and this happens from that person doing something. Yeah. You're in charge of you and your thoughts and your relationship. Like it starts with you. So, just learning where are you accountable? Where, you know what I mean? But just keep bringing it back inside and coming to a relationship from there, not what the other person's supposed to be doing or whatever, right?
Right. Take responsibility for you. My last question to you is what do you feel like leadership is in this day and age, now that it's changed so much?
That's a good question. And there's many different types of leadership.
Yeah, pick whichever one you want.
Yeah, no. Well, to me, I mean, it sounds really simple, but I think it's just about, I think first to lead, you got to know who you are. And then you have to have your own integrity, whatever that means to you.
Yeah.
And then you lead from there.
Agreed. That's a beautiful definition of leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time today, Nadine. You're so inspiring and we appreciate you. We appreciate all that you put out into the world. And I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Oh, thank you. That was such a fun conversation.